Anytime someone asks me to talk about my mom, I jump at the opportunity. So thank you, Miriam. So I'm going to share a miracle story about my mom this morning. But to get started, I need to give you a little backstory on her. My mom, Sandra Wright, was born into an Orthodox Jewish family in Charleston, South Carolina. In her early 20s, after attending UGA, she moved into an apartment complex in Atlanta. And much to her parents' dismay, she met my dad, Darwin. You see, Darwin was a Southern Baptist from South Georgia. Long story short, after a life-threatening motorcycle accident for my dad, my mom, the Southern Jew, married my dad, the crippled, unemployed Southern Baptist. Fast forward years and lots of tough times later, they have 3 kids, which I'm the youngest of. At the time, I was 10 years old, and my mom accepted Jesus, and everything changed. She gave her whole heart to the Lord, and in this was given the sweetest, most trusting spirit. She begins talking to me and telling me to always trust in the Lord, no matter the circumstance. So that is where the miracle story begins, that I'm going to share this morning. In the summer of 2008, my family picked me up from a mission trip and informed me that my mom had stage 4 cancer. My mom, my hero, and my very best friend. To say I was devastated would obviously be an understatement. I remember not going back to my apartment, but instead just going home with them and sitting on the porch crying by myself. Even in that moment, though, I felt God's presence and remembered about how my mom had always spoken over me and encouraged me to trust in the Lord with all my heart, even in really hard circumstances. A little later in the day, my parents sat down with me and spoke with me about their prayers and hopes. I will never forget my selfless mom telling me that she was praying for healing, but even more than that, she was praying that I would meet my husband. I remember thinking she was crazy. She was very insistent on not wanting to leave me, her prognosis was grim, without knowing that someone was taking care of me and that I had someone by my side. Fast forward 3 weeks. Yes, just 3 weeks. The Beckhead Church Singles Retreat was taking place in Sandestin, and I'd already committed to going with my small group. I tried numerous times to get out of it, but my family and friends insisted that I attended. And it was right there on that trip that I didn't want to go on where I met the man my mom was praying for. A man that was better than anything I had ever prayed for. How is that for a quick answered prayer? Nick and I started dating a few weeks later, and I felt like God had prepared him for this time. He was at a place in his life where he was dating intentionally and following God closely. On our very first date, he prayed for my mom at dinner, and I was blown away. My mom had always instilled in me the firm belief that you should date someone for at least 2 years before you can get married. It was almost like a family rule that we had. But after meeting Nick, she immediately started saying, "When are you going to marry this guy?" Well, she got her answer only 5 short months later when Nick proposed. As my mom continued to have treatments to give her as much time as possible, we continued to rejoice in the way that God was answering some of our prayers. We set a wedding date for only 6 months out for 300 people and continued to pray that my mom would be a part of the celebrating. All during this time, we were continuing to trust in God and his timing and to not be anxious. All was pretty well and exciting with the planning until the week before the wedding. Yes, 1 week. When my mom woke up with an excruciating headache and my dad took her to the ER. The cancer had spread to her brain. She begged the doctors to do whatever it took to help her make it to the wedding. The doctors did immediate radiation and mom was in the bed all week. She literally could not function the entire week leading up to the wedding. But not only did she make it to her wedding, but my brothers helped her walk down the aisle and she danced with my dad at the reception. My wedding was a huge celebration of not only Nick and I's marriage, but of God's miracle and my mom's life. A life and legacy that Nick and I were honored to share our date with. My mom was there until the very last minute when we ran through the bubbles at the end of the night. So when I reflect on this day and this time in my life, every single time I'm in awe. I'm in awe that my mom's prayers were answered so beautifully and better than we could have ever imagined. And I'm in awe of just that was her prayer and that I got Nick. So my mom never got out of bed again after that night. Nick and I delayed our honeymoon and we spent those final couple of months, our first one's being married by her side. When couples talk about how difficult their first year of marriage is, I actually look at ours as a beautiful time. We were able to love on my mom together, and Nick was a rock by my side and the miracle that my mom had prayed for. The little adjustments were so small compared to the big picture God showed us from the beginning. People ask a lot how I got through all of this season without anxiety and stress. I mean, let's be honest, even just a wedding can cause both of those. But I know the only way I got through with it was having peace and trusting in God's plan, which is what my mom had taught me from the beginning of her journey with Christ. Even that week before my wedding, when most brides are so stressed without a mom in the hospital, I just felt peace the whole time. I never felt stressed about the wedding. I was just excited and hopeful that everyone would have a fun time. I still miss my mom every single day, but I can sit back in awe of the miracle that took place during her illness. They answered prayers that had bigger answers than our minds could even imagine. I see my mom every day as our parent our 3 daughters, and as God continues to answer prayers for our family, for my dad, and for my brothers. I'm so grateful, and I definitely look forward to the day that my mom and I will see each other again. But I will always be grateful that my mom encouraged me to follow Jesus and to always give everything over to him.